God saw your tears and never forgot you. Life often moves faster than we can keep up with. We find ourselves caught in seasons of pain, loss, confusion, or waiting. Long, drawn-out periods where it seems as if we are invisible to the world, and worse, invisible to God. But this message is here to remind you, every tear you have ever shed, every silent cry, every moment when you were alone and broken, none of it went unnoticed. None of it was in vain. Even when you felt forsaken, forgotten, or invisible, God saw you, not just as a passing glance, not just as a background character in the grand story of life, but intimately, personally, and profoundly. He saw your tears and never, ever forgot you. Please, I encourage you to watch this video until the very end. This is more than just a message. It is a declaration of healing, of remembrance, of restoration. If you feel moved, leave your warmest wishes in the comments and include the number 77. This is a chapter about wishes coming true, about energizing the universe with your intention, love, and faith. Your words might just be the encouragement someone else needs today. This is a space where miracles can begin with your voice. There are moments in life when silence becomes the loudest companion, when the world grows quiet, and the nights stretch long with thoughts that echo in your heart. In those moments, many cry themselves to sleep. Many lie awake, whispering prayers they don't believe are heard. But they are. Even when you whispered so softly that not even you believed it could travel beyond the room, God heard it. Your tears were not lost in the sheets or the pillows. They were seen. They were counted. They were sacred. Tears are not signs of weakness. They are sacred evidence of a soul deeply feeling, deeply enduring, and deeply hoping. We often associate tears with defeat or shame, as if crying is something to hide. But in truth, tears are proof of love, of courage, of care. They are the overflow of a heart too full to hold it all in. And when they fall, they do not fall unnoticed. Heaven records every drop, because God never turns his face from a broken heart. In fact, it is in our brokenness that we are most intimately known. There are those who suffer quietly, who carry their pain in silence, so as not to burden others. These are the souls who go unnoticed, the ones who smile outwardly but ache inwardly. If that's you, know this: you have not been forgotten. Your silent struggles have been seen. Your hidden pain has been known. Your efforts, though they may not have been celebrated by people, have been recognized by God. He sees the strength it takes to rise each day, the endurance it takes to keep going when everything inside you is falling apart. Sometimes we pray and see nothing. No answers, no signs, just more waiting. It's easy to believe that maybe we've been overlooked, that maybe others' prayers are louder, more worthy, more urgent. But this isn't true. Delay does not mean denial. The silence is not abandonment. Sometimes, silence is where the greatest work is done. When nothing is moving in the physical, something is shifting in the spiritual. Every tear you've cried was watering something in the unseen realm. Something is growing, healing, shifting, aligning. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean God isn't moving. There's a sacredness to waiting, a kind of faith that blooms only in the dark. It's in those long, aching pauses of life that you learn the strength of your soul. You learn to lean not on what you see, but what you believe. You learn that your worth is not in your wins, but in your willingness to hope again. And in this kind of faith, heaven draws near. God leans in, because he sees you choosing faith when fear would be easier, choosing love when bitterness is tempting, choosing trust when doubt has made a home in your mind. You may not have felt it, but angels have walked beside you in your darkest moments. You may not have noticed, but divine hands have held you when you had no strength left. The dreams you buried out of disappointment, God has not buried them. He has preserved them. They are not dead. They are dormant, waiting for the right time to bloom, to come alive again, stronger and more beautiful than before. Every moment of pain, every sleepless night, every lonely tear has not been wasted. In the economy of God, nothing is ever wasted. He uses everything, even the ache, even the silence, even the brokenness. He takes what was meant for harm and bends it into healing. He takes abandonment and turns it into purpose. He takes tears and transforms them into rain that waters the seeds of your destiny. What you thought would destroy you may become the very thing that strengthens your voice, your mission, your impact. Some of you have cried over people who left you, over opportunities that passed you by, over illnesses that changed your path. Some of you have lost time, lost confidence, lost your sense of self. But none of this defines you. What defines you is the truth that you were never alone, that even in the depths of despair, a divine presence hovered near, collecting your tears like precious gems, holding your soul in sacred stillness, preparing you for a comeback you couldn't yet imagine. Healing is not always loud. Sometimes it's the quiet shift inside when you realize you survived, when you realize you're still here, still breathing, still hoping. That in itself is a miracle. And your tears, they were part of that miracle. They softened the soil. They broke open the hardened places. They carved the channels through which healing could flow. You didn't cry for nothing. You cried because you cared, because you loved, because you longed for something better. And that longing is holy. There's a reason the soul aches before it awakens. Transformation is not neat. It's messy. It hurts. It unravels us before it rebuilds us. But in all that unraveling, something sacred is happening. You are being made new, not just patched up, but completely remade. The old pain doesn't own you anymore. It shaped you, yes, but it doesn't define you. You are more than what you went through. You are the beauty that rose from it. And maybe you've lost count of the times you've tried to move forward. Maybe you've become afraid to hope because disappointment has visited you so often. But hope is not naive. Hope is brave. Hope says, I will try again, even if I was shattered before. Hope stands in the ruins and dreams of a new day. Hope is the quiet voice that whispers, keep going, when everything else says, give up. And when you choose to hope again, even after all the tears, you are walking in divine strength. Your journey matters. Your scars matter. Your story matters. Not because it's perfect, but because it's real. And in the reality of your brokenness, God is writing something beautiful. He saw it all, every fall, every fight, every fear. And still, He chooses you. Still, He loves you. Still, He holds your future in His hands. You are not forgotten. Not now, not ever. This message is for every soul that feels weary, every heart that feels overlooked, for the one who's been waiting too long, fighting too hard, or quietly breaking. You are not alone. There is a presence that has been with you in every moment, a love that has never left your side, a divine witness to your pain. God saw your tears, and He never forgot you. There's a quiet kind of strength in the person who keeps showing up, who wakes up every morning despite exhaustion, who faces each day with trembling hands, yet moves forward anyway. That kind of courage often goes unseen by others, but it is deeply known by God. You may think no one notices your efforts, the tears you hide behind your smile, the prayers you whisper with cracked voices, the exhaustion behind your eyes. But He does. He notices. He honors it. He collects it all. Sometimes the hardest battles are the ones we fight internally, the war between giving up and holding on, the tension between faith and fear, between waiting and breaking. There are days when you don't even know what you're holding on for. You just know you can't let go. And that, in itself, is sacred. That inner battle that no one sees, the perseverance in your silence, the strength it takes to simply endure. It matters. God saw it. He sees it still. It can feel frustrating when others don't understand what you're going through, when the people you counted on to support you seem absent or indifferent, when you reach out but feel like no one truly hears you. But just because others don't understand doesn't mean your pain is invisible. Just because others don't acknowledge it doesn't mean it's unimportant. What the world overlooks, heaven watches with reverence. Your tears were not wasted. They were heard in the throne room of grace. There were moments you thought you wouldn't survive. Moments when breathing felt like effort, when the weight of your emotions seemed unbearable. Maybe you even felt ashamed of your pain, embarrassed by your sadness, confused by how deeply something could hurt. But there is no shame in being human, no shame in feeling. Your emotions are not flaws. They are evidence of your heart, your empathy, your aliveness. They make you real. They make you powerful. They connect you to something greater. And while you may not realize it yet, every tear watered something sacred in your life. Every time your heart broke, it created space for something new to grow. Sometimes pain is the only tool sharp enough to carve out space for deeper joy, deeper strength, deeper wisdom. You may not feel stronger yet, but you are becoming. Your pain did not weaken you. It deepened you. It expanded you. It brought you closer to truth, to meaning, to God. There is beauty in your becoming. Even when you feel lost, even when the pieces of your life don't make sense, there is a purpose to this path, a design unfolding beneath what you can see. Just as a seed must be buried in darkness before it blooms, so must some seasons of your life feel hidden, buried, isolated. But the darkness is not your end. It is your beginning. The tears are not a sign of defeat. They are a sign that something within you still longs for light, that you have not given up, that you still believe in something more. You may not feel seen by people, but you have always been seen by God. When you sat alone in your room and asked, "Why me?" When you lay awake with questions that had no answers. When you wept over disappointments you couldn't explain to anyone else. When you smiled during the day and cried at night. He saw it all. He remembers it all. And He does not forget. He does not dismiss your pain or minimize your experience. He holds it with care, with tenderness, with justice. Healing takes time. Sometimes it takes longer than you thought it would. Sometimes you think you're better, and then something triggers the pain again. This is normal. This is part of the journey. Healing is not a straight line. It's a spiral. Some days you feel strong. Other days you feel like you're back at the beginning. But you're not. Every step forward counts. Even if you stumble, even if you fall, even if you cry, you are still moving, still healing, still becoming who you were always meant to be. And through it all, through every tear and tremble, you are not alone. There is a love that wraps itself around you even when you feel unworthy. A presence that never leaves, even when everyone else does. A divine remembering that holds your story like something sacred, because it is. Your story is sacred. Your tears are holy. Your journey is worth honoring. You are not invisible. You are not forgotten. There's something powerful that happens when you choose to believe this, when you stop measuring your worth by how others treat you, when you stop seeing your tears as failures, when you realize that every ache, every longing, every crack in your heart was part of the process of making room for light, for grace, for beauty. You don't have to be ashamed of your pain. You don't have to apologize for your grief. You don't have to pretend you're okay. You are allowed to be real. You are allowed to feel. And you are still loved through it all. Sometimes the greatest gift is not that the pain disappears, but that you are given the strength to bear it, that you are no longer defined by it, that you become someone who can hold others in their sorrow because you've walked through your own, that your heart, once broken, becomes the very thing that brings healing to others. Your tears, once hidden, become rivers of compassion. That's the power of being seen. That's the power of divine remembrance. And one day, without realizing it, you'll look back and see how far you've come. You'll notice that the pain doesn't sting the same way, that your smile is more genuine, that your heart feels lighter, that joy has returned. Not because life is perfect, but because you are whole. And in that moment, you'll realize nothing was wasted. God saw your tears, and He never forgot you. Everything you endured will have led to this awakening. This realization that you are deeply known, deeply loved, and eternally remembered. That your journey, painful as it was, mattered. That your voice, soft as it may be, carries weight. That your heart, scarred as it may be, still beats with purpose. There is power in your presence. There is healing in your honesty. There is light in your tears. So don't be afraid to feel. Don't be afraid to hope. Don't be afraid to start again. What was broken can be made whole. What was lost can be found. What was forgotten by others was never forgotten by God. You were seen in your darkest hour, held in your most fragile state. And now you are rising, not in spite of your tears, but because of them. You are proof that pain does not get the final word. That sorrow does not write the ending. That silence is not the absence of love. You are living, breathing testimony that being seen, truly seen, changes everything. And that divine remembrance, knowing that God saw your tears and never forgot you, is the beginning of something holy, something powerful, something beautifully new. There are certain seasons of life that test us in ways we never expected. Moments when all the things we held onto begin to unravel. Plans fall apart, relationships break, health declines, time slows. And in those quiet places of unraveling, it's easy to feel abandoned. Like you've been left behind while others move forward. Like your voice got lost in the noise of a world that keeps spinning, while you are stuck in stillness, in sadness, in survival. But let this truth wrap around you like a warm blanket. God never left you. Not once. Not even for a moment. He saw what others missed. He saw the heaviness in your heart on the days you said, "I'm fine." He saw the nights you curled into yourself, aching without words. He saw the way you still tried to be kind, even when your soul was breaking. He saw how you kept giving, kept loving, kept hoping, when it would have been easier to shut down. And He remembers it all. Not to judge you, but to honor you. Not to remind you of your weakness, but to shine a light on your strength. Pain often reshapes us, not by changing who we are, but by peeling away everything that is not essential. In the fire of suffering, what is false burns away. You are left raw, real, exposed, but also true, grounded, and unshakably present. There's a depth to someone who has suffered silently, a quiet wisdom that can't be taught, a gentleness that only comes from being broken and rebuilt. That is your gift. That is your testimony. Not that life was easy, but that you endured the storm and still chose love. When you were in the depths of it, maybe you thought no one could possibly understand. Maybe you even resented how effortlessly others seemed to live while you struggled just to breathe through the pain. But every step you took through that wilderness was known by heaven. Every moment you chose to keep going, even when you were tired, angry, or afraid, was seen. Your tears were not a footnote in your story. They were the turning point, the sacred moment when heaven leaned in and said, "I see you." And if you could look back now through the eyes of love, you would see just how many times you were carried, how many dangers were kept from you, how many things could have gone worse but didn't, how many times you could have lost your way, but somehow found the strength to keep walking. Not because you had the answers, but because somewhere, deep inside, something whispered, "Don't quit." That whisper was not your own. It was the voice of the one who never forgot you. It's tempting to look at others and wonder why their prayers seem to be answered while yours go unanswered. Why their blessings come so easily while you wait and wait. But what you must understand is that your journey is sacred, not in spite of the waiting, but because of it. You are being prepared, not punished. You are being refined, not rejected. And the longer the wait, the more beautiful the arrival. What God is preparing for you will not come late. It will come right on time, at the appointed time, the time that was written long before the tears fell. Even when you were in pain, your soul was growing. Even when you were silent, your heart was speaking in ways no one could hear but God. Even when you felt empty, you were being filled with compassion, strength, clarity, and purpose. You were becoming someone new, someone shaped not just by life, but by love. And though you didn't see it at the time, your very tears were transforming you. The people around you may never know the cost of your survival. They may never understand how hard you've had to fight to stay kind, stay hopeful, stay alive. That's okay, because you're not here to prove your pain to others. You're here to live out your healing, to embody your resilience, to walk in the beauty that comes after the weeping. You are the evidence of what it looks like to be held by invisible arms, to be remembered when you felt most forgotten. So many things in life try to convince us that our pain doesn't matter unless it's visible, dramatic, or shared publicly. But some of the deepest wounds are the ones no one ever sees. Some of the hardest healing journeys happen behind closed doors, without witnesses, without applause. But they are no less real, no less sacred, no less important. You don't need validation to make your pain real. You don't need approval to make your healing matter. Your tears carried the weight of your soul, and that alone is enough. If you've ever asked, "Did anyone notice what I went through?" the answer is yes. If you've ever asked, "Did anyone care that I cried myself to sleep?" the answer is yes. If you've ever wondered, "Did anything good come from my heartbreak?" the answer is yes. Because your tears were never just sadness. They were prayers. They were seeds. They were declarations of your humanity and hope. And God was with you through it all, collecting, remembering, preparing. One day, the very thing that broke you will be the thing that builds others. Your voice will carry power not because you never suffered, but because you did and survived. Your eyes will shine not in spite of the tears, but because of them. You will walk into rooms with a presence that can only come from having walked through fire, and others will feel safe around you, not because you have all the answers, but because you understand the questions. This is what divine remembrance looks like. Not just comfort after the storm, but redemption through the storm. Not just restoration of what was lost, but multiplication of what is gained. Your story didn't end when you were broken, it began again. And this time, it's deeper, richer, more authentic. You are not the same person you were before the tears. You are wiser, kinder, stronger, more in tune with what matters, more connected to your soul. You have nothing to prove, nothing to hide. You don't need to pretend you never cried. Your tears are your truth. Your healing is your testimony. Your endurance is your crown. Let the world see you, not as someone who never struggled, but as someone who never gave up, someone who was seen, held, remembered, loved. This journey has always been about more than just survival. It's been about awakening. Awakening to the truth that you are not alone, that you are part of something greater, that every moment of your life, even the ones you thought were wasted, have been woven into something meaningful. Your pain was not your punishment. It was your passage. And now you are stepping into the light of that realization, because God saw your tears. He walked with you through every shadow, and He never forgot you. Not once, not ever. Sometimes the most profound changes happen in silence. No fireworks, no fanfare, just the slow, steady unfolding of a soul that refused to quit. The person you've become wasn't built in moments of comfort. It was shaped in the storm, carved in the dark, and refined by tears no one else ever saw. It's in those silent nights, when your chest felt hollow and your prayers felt unanswered, that something eternal was happening. You were being remembered by the one who shaped you, the one who never overlooked a single tear. You may never get the apology you deserve. You may never be able to explain the depth of what you went through. There might not be words that can capture the ache, the loneliness, the raw ache of waiting for a change that didn't come in the way or time you hoped. But just because justice didn't arrive in the form you expected doesn't mean your pain was ignored. Heaven is not deaf. God is not blind. What broke you was not missed. What crushed your spirit was not dismissed. There was a witness to it all, and His remembrance is not passive. It's powerful. Sometimes, before the breakthrough, there's a long stretch of emptiness. You wake up and everything feels the same. You hope, but the answers don't come. You ask, but the silence stretches on. And yet still, you show up. You put one foot in front of the other. You move through the minutes, not knowing what they're adding up to, but trusting somewhere deep inside that they're not meaningless. And that trust, that thread of faith, stretched thin across days of disappointment, is sacred. It's the kind of faith that moves things, even when you don't see them moving. The world often values strength that is loud, but there's a holy strength in quiet perseverance, in choosing to stay kind even when you're wounded, in speaking gently when you're grieving, in loving even when you feel empty. These acts, so easily missed by others, echo in eternity. They are not small. They are not forgotten. They are written into the eternal memory of God, who treasures what the world ignores. Your quiet strength is a song heaven never stops hearing. You may not have realized it, but while you were surviving, you were also transforming. While you were crying, you were also cleansing. While you were being broken, you were also being built. And what's rising now within you isn't fragile. It's forged. It's real. It's born of fire. The kind of strength that doesn't depend on applause or validation. The kind of faith that doesn't need immediate answers to remain rooted, the kind of heart that knows it has already been seen and held, even when nothing made sense. God didn't just see your tears, He felt them. Because when your heart broke, He was right there. When the betrayal came, when the disappointment settled in your bones, when your hope felt too heavy to carry, He stayed. Not in some far-off, disconnected way, but near, closer than your own breath. Not always changing the circumstances, but always holding you through them. Every single time you thought you were alone, you weren't. Every time you thought you had no one, you had Him, the one who keeps count of every sigh, every shiver, every tear that slid down your face and disappeared into the pillow. There's something unshakable about a person who knows they are remembered by God, who no longer defines themselves by their wounds, but by the healing that followed, who wears their scars not as symbols of defeat, but as evidence of survival. You don't need to be ashamed of your past. You don't need to pretend you never struggled. What you came through is proof that you were stronger than the storm, that you were protected when you didn't even realize it, that you were seen in the middle of your collapse and lifted when you couldn't rise on your own. And while it may not have looked like a miracle at the time, every moment you chose to keep breathing, keep hoping, keep living, that was the miracle. You are the miracle, the one who kept going, the one who still believed in love after being wounded by it, the one who still reached for light, even while surrounded by shadows, the one who cried and didn't quit. You're not weak. You're not broken. You are the living proof that God doesn't forget the ones who suffer in silence. There's a tenderness in the way God remembers us, not like someone ticking off a checklist, but like a father remembering his child's first tear, like a mother who never forgets the sound of her baby's cry. That's how intimately you are known. That's how deeply you are seen. Nothing about your journey was unimportant. Nothing about your pain was insignificant. Even the parts you wanted to forget. He remembers with compassion, not to shame you, but to redeem you. And that redemption doesn't always look like getting back what you lost. Sometimes it means becoming someone new, someone who walks differently, speaks more softly, loves more fiercely. Someone who looks others in the eyes and says, I know what it feels like to be there, and I also know you're going to make it. Your pain becomes your wisdom. Your struggle becomes your light. Your survival becomes your song. You may still be waiting to understand why things happened the way they did. And that's okay. You don't need all the answers to begin healing. You don't need full clarity to trust that something good is growing from the ground your tears soaked. Sometimes the only thing you need is the quiet assurance that you're not forgotten, that what you carried alone is being carried now by hands that are greater than yours, that what you released in prayer was received, remembered, and wrapped in love. Don't rush this season. Don't despise it. Don't tell yourself you should be over it by now. Healing moves on its own time. Grief unfolds in layers. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are becoming. And the more you let go of the need to feel okay all the time, the more space you create for real peace to enter. Not forced peace. Not the kind that silences your emotions, but the kind that gently wraps around your soul and says, you are safe. You are held. You are seen. And when the day comes that you feel joy again, not the performative kind, but the deep, surprising, steady kind, you'll know. You'll know it was born not in spite of your tears, but through them. That your healing didn't deny your past, it honored it. That your smile now carries the weight of every time you wept and still believed in the light. And that's something no one can ever take away from you, because the truth remains unchanging, undeniable, unwavering. God saw your tears, and He never, ever forgot you. There comes a time after all the crying, all the aching, and all the quiet waiting, when you realize you are still here. Not the same version of you. No, something has changed. Something deep, something irreversible. You've been shaped by silence, strengthened by surrender, and softened by suffering. What once looked like an ending has become a beginning. And though it came at a cost you never asked to pay, the person you are now, the one who made it through, is sacred. You don't cry like you used to, not because you don't feel anymore, but because your tears have been seen, validated, honored. Something within you knows now, even if you can't always explain it, that your story was never forgotten, that the days you felt invisible were actually the days heaven was most attentive, that your soul was being written into a narrative larger than your pain, deeper than your fear, and more beautiful than your imagination ever allowed. God saw it all. The hidden heartbreaks, the disappointments that didn't make sense, the nights when it felt like your prayers dissolved into the air and never returned. He didn't miss the pain that shook your hands or the heartbreak that made your voice tremble. He saw the moments you fought back tears in public and the times you finally let go in private. Not one moment was too small. Not one sigh went unnoticed. He was there in the heaviness, in the stillness, in the quiet undoing of everything you thought you were. And you know what? You're still here, still standing, still breathing. Maybe a little softer, maybe a little more cautious, but more real than ever before. You're not who you used to be. You've outgrown the illusion that strength means hiding your pain. You've learned that it's possible to be both strong and scarred, both hopeful and hurting, both faithful and uncertain. You carry within you a quiet resilience, a kind of holiness that only grows in the soil of sorrow. There will still be moments when it all rushes back, a sound, a memory, a stillness in the room. You might find yourself unexpectedly standing in the shadows of your past, but you're not the same. The version of you that walks through the valley now carries light, carries wisdom, carries the soft imprint of a love that stayed with you when everything else fell apart. That love is still here, still with you, still watching over you, still writing your story. And now you have something that cannot be faked or bought or taught: perspective, compassion, the ability to truly see people, not just their smiles, but their silences. You've become the kind of person who can sit with someone in their pain, not needing to fix it, just to be present, because you remember what it felt like to need that presence yourself. This is your gift now. The ache you once carried has made you more tender, more understanding, more human. So don't be ashamed of your tears. They were never a sign of weakness. They were water for your roots. They softened the ground so something new could grow. They baptized you into a deeper awareness of your own heart and the hearts of others. You don't have to wipe them away quickly or explain them to anyone. Let them fall when they need to. Let them speak what your words cannot. Let them remind you you survived. And as you move forward, don't measure your progress by how much you forget the pain. Measure it by how much love you can carry despite the pain. Measure it by how gentle you are with yourself. Measure it by the depth of your breath, the steadiness of your walk, the way you choose light even when the darkness still lingers at the edges. This is healing. Not perfection, not closure, but movement, meaning, mercy. You've come a long way, farther than you know, and there's still beauty ahead. New days, new people, new joys that don't cancel out your tears, but rise from them like flowers from the soil. There's still goodness waiting to meet you. And not because you earned it, not because you did everything right, but simply because you were remembered, because you were seen, because you were loved before, during, and after the weeping. So take a breath. Let that truth settle in. You are not forgotten. You were never forgotten. Not in your silence, not in your sadness, not in your shame. You were held in the heart of God through every moment you thought you wouldn't make it. And you're still being held now. This is not the end of your story. This is the continuation of a life touched by something greater than pain. Touched by grace, carved by compassion, carried by a love that never looked away. What was broken has begun to be restored. What was wept over has begun to shine. And what felt like the final chapter has quietly become the first line of something new. You are the living proof that tears do not erase you. They renew you. You are the testimony of one who was seen. You are the reflection of a heart that heaven never forgot, because God saw your tears, and He never, ever forgot you.